Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we are going to be making the Friendship Block. I've already cut out all my pieces. If you would like to see how I go about cutting out my pieces, I will put a link below in the comment section to where you can find the first few of my blocks from the springtime sampler. So potentially the Irish chain block or the bow tie block or one of the other blocks that we've already done. That's where you'll be able to see how I go about cutting them out. So first things first, if you'd like to continue to follow me along on our springtime sampler 2019 to 2020 block of the month, please do subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button, click on that. Don't forget to hit the little bell, and then you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. So let's get going on this one. With this one, we have one of the smaller, then there's two large blocks here. Let me get these open. We have two blocks here. These are the larger size. We have a bunch of little ones and then two big ones here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my directions and I'm going to do exactly what they say. So on our fabric number 22, which is this one, they're telling me I need to draw a diagonal line. So I'm going to grab my friction pen and I'm going to grab a ruler that's a little bit smaller. I'll grab a smaller Creative Grids ruler. And it tells me I need to, on the wrong side of the fabric, draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. So I'm just going to simply do that. So there's one line, and hopefully you can see it. And then here comes my second line. And again, you can see I'm just lining that point and that point up with my ruler and drawing the line. All right, that one's a little darker, so I think you can see that one. Once I've done that, so it said these, and then I need to take my two fabric number 11s. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to put my right sides together. I'm going to line these two up a little bit better than what they are, and then I'm just going to take my pins and I'm going to put a couple pins in it. Put the pins off to the side because what I'm going to do is, let me make sure I've got that straight, is I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch away from this drawn line. So 1/4 of an inch on this side and 1/4 of an inch on that side. And I'm going to do it to both of these pieces. So I will end up with 4 half square triangles. Let me grab another pin and one more. So I know I have to sew these. So I'm going to take off over to my sewing machine and I will show you how I'm going to go about sewing these. I want to show you how I go about continuously sewing, especially when I'm doing anything like half square triangles. You can see I've already sewn this one line. Next I want to sew this line, but I want to show you how I do one piece of fabric right after the other. So I'm sitting in front of my BERNINA 790 Plus. I do have my 10D foot on. I have engaged my dual feed right here. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm using Aurifil thread. It is color number 2311. My stitch length is 2.5. So what I'm going to do is I am going to line this edge. Let me show you the edge. I'm going to line this edge right here of my foot up with my blue line that I've drawn. Remember, we need to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from this blue drawn line on both sides. So now I'm getting ready to do this side. So I'm going to take my piece of fabric and I'm going to put it underneath my presser foot. I am going to use the hover feature to come on down, bring my presser foot down so that I can make sure that I'm nice and lined up with my blue drawn line. I'm going to next either touch my foot control, raise and lower button, or I'll tap my foot control to set my presser foot down into position. This time I'll use my foot control to start stitching. See how it nicely comes down? Now I have programmed my machine to automatically do a tie-off whenever I start sewing. One of the many things that I love about my BERNINA is the fact that I'm able to automatically program so many different features that are features that I want automatically done every time I sew. So I'm just going to start stitching. And I'm allowing the feed dogs to do their job. I'm just guiding my piece of fabric through. I'm not pushing it, I'm not pulling it, I'm not doing anything but guiding it through. So if it starts to get off a little bit, I just kind of move it gently, just a little bit. So I'm going to sew all the way down. Once I get all the way down, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to bring my needle to the edge of my fabric, which I've done, and now I'm going to show you how I add another fabric so that I keep sewing without stopping, cutting my thread, and starting again. This is another place where that hover function comes in handy because I want to continuously stitch. So I'm going to stitch right up to the edge. And I mean, I'm right on the edge. Then I'm going to engage my hover function. I'm going to put my fabric right underneath. I have lined up my drawn line on this piece with my drawn line on this piece. Just making certain that I'm lined up where I want to be. Because remember, I want my drawn line to be right against this edge of the presser foot. I'm going to engage it totally. And then I'm going to continue stitching. I didn't lose really any stitches in between. I was able to continuously sew, which saves me time and it saves me thread. So it's a fantastic way. It's another really fantastic way of using that hover function. Now I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to show you how close I was able to stitch. Look at that. It was only a couple of threads and it works out perfectly. I have sewn a scant quarter away from drawing on both pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a pair of scissors. I'm going to cut these two apart. And then once I've cut them apart, the very first thing I am going to do is set my seams, because that's an extremely important part of sewing, is getting those seams set properly. And then you might be able to see, oh, I guess you can't. I brought my strip stick over. So I am once again going to press my seams open. So the first thing I'm going to do, put my iron down and set my seams. And I do have my iron on cotton linen settings. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then once I've done this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab my strip stick and I am going to press these seams open. So I just take my fabric, there it is, I'm going to open it up and I start it on one end just by opening it up, maybe finger pressing it a little bit. You can finger press it all the way down if you want. I'm going to lay it over that. Then I'm just going to pick up my iron and I'm again going to press. Right? Once I've pressed it, I'm going to then take it and lay it down on my wool mat. And I'm going to press it again. And there is my nice flat. Now if you find that it's not flat enough on one end, just take it, press it again. No big deal. There we go. Right, now I'm going to square these up in just a minute. So I'm just going to let that sit, let that cool off, and continue doing the other ones. So here we go. Let's get these done. so now I'm going to, don't you love this? Look at the bumblebee that showed up. I'm so excited. I love that when that happens. I'm going to set my wool pressing mat aside because now what I need to do is I need to grab my rotary cutter and my blocks, because the next thing that I really need to do is to square these up. I've pressed this and now we've got to square it up. I've grabbed my Creative Grids ruler and this is my 9.5 inch square one. And what I love about this ruler is I've got a 45-degree line. Well, that's exactly what half square triangles are made up of, is 45-degree lines. And I know I need to square this up, and I want to square up because right now it's a little bit oversized. So I'm going to use that 45-degree line to line this all up. I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to, using my fingertips, press against my ruler. I'm going to engage my 45mm Olfa rotary, and I'm going to go up one side, release, then go across the top and release. I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to pull these scraps away. Then I'm going to pick up my ruler and then my fabric, and I'm going to rotate my fabric until this is back up at the top again. So I always want my 45-degree points up at the top so that I can easily see them. Now I'm going to line this up again, and I'm lining up in a couple of spots. I'm lining up on my 45-degree line. I'm lining up at the bottom and on the left side. Put my fingers down again, making certain that my hands are away from the edge of my ruler. I'm going to go up, then across the top, and I have squared one up. There we go. There's our beautiful block. I'm going to square these other three, then we're going to lay this out on my wool mat again, and then we get to go back to the sewing machine and start putting these together, which is always an exciting part. Pinch those and take those aside. And then you can see I end up all over my cutting mat. I don't stay on those straight lines once I make a cut. If I'm going to line it up here, when I'm squaring things up, I just square them up wherever it feels comfortable for me. So here we go again. And there's block 2. Here comes block 3. Oh, look at what's going to happen. Oh, this is going to be really pretty. I'm excited about it. Look, my flower's going to be right there. My beautiful cornflower. Lining it up against the bottom, against the left side, and against the 45-degree mark. So here we go again. One more, and then we're ready to lay it out and see what it's going to look like. Again, remember, 45-degree line on the first cut. There's my first one. Pick it up, rotate it, and now I'm going to use my 45-degree, and I am also going to use the left side and the bottom. I'm all squared up again, and here I go. So that's it. It's all squared up, and believe me, it's worth that few minutes that it took us to square that up. All right, here's our block. This is what we look like, so let's get this laid out. Here we go. I'm going to start with my center block. Then I'm going to start adding. So here we go. I don't know where I got purple threads from, but I did. Oh, look at how nice that's going into that piece. Very nice. Very nice. So happy how nice it looks. And then this one's going to go. Oh, isn't that going to be pretty? All right, now here we go. We're going to lay our 4 blocks out. our 4. So I'm going to put this together just like I do any simple 9 patch, because that's all this is. It's a very simple 9 patch. I'm going to sew this to this, and then this to this. This to this, and then this to this. This to this, and then these 2 to this one. Then I will press it again, then I'm going to sew my 3 rows together. So let's go over to the sewing machine and we will get this put together. I've changed the angle of your view. So here's my block all laid out. What I want you to do is watch how I continuously sew to put this together. I'm going to pick these up. I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm lining them up. And if I feel like I need a little bit more stability in my stitching, I will stick a couple of pins in it. I'm not afraid to pin things. And you know what? I like it when my blocks come out nice and square. So I'm going to take the time to pin it so that it's all there nice. I'm going to line myself up straight to my presser foot. Make certain I'm properly lined up, which I am. And now I'm going to lower my presser foot all the way. I am going to take out my first pin that I put in because now I'm underneath my presser foot and I'm good and secure. And I'm just going to start stitching. Remove my next pin. And now I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to look around. I'm just going to do a little clip. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to lay it down right back into its placement so that I know I've got it right. I'm going to pick up my next fabric on my very first row. And I'm going to line those up and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pin, then I'm going to stitch, and then I'll pick up the next one. So we can just keep right on sewing and we don't have to stop, which I think is amazing because then we save thread and we get to sew more. Alright, here's all of my blocks in rows, and you can see I have pressed my seams open. So now what I'm going to do is flip one on top of the other. Then I'm going to take my pins, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin on both sides of that seam so that when I fold this top back just a little bit, I'm going to see that my seams are matched right up nice. And to do that, the best way to hold those all together, especially because I've pressed the seams open, is to put a pin on each side. So I'll just go just like this. There's one. And then here's my second one. And I'm going to do that at both seams, which will do the most that it possibly can to keep that stabilized so that my seams don't move and so that my points match up. So I'm going to get this sewn off the 2 rows so I'll get my block totally put together, and then I will be back to show you my completed block. And here is the beautiful block. This block was made with Robin Pickens fabric and it's called Painted Meadow. It's produced by Moda. And I'm just in love with it. So if you'd like to see more videos like this, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do so. We make a bunch of different crafts. Right now we're in the middle of this springtime sampler block of the month. The patterns for this are available on my website. They are released on the last day of every month between October and March. So again, thanks for joining me at Margaret Lewin Quilting, and I will see you again, I hope, really soon. Bye, everybody.